The most surprising phenomenon of going to Clacton to meet constituents and ask them about their opinions about the election yesterday was I was invited for afternoon tea by a pensioner couple without checking to see if I was a mass murderer and without me checking to see if they were mass murderers. And they invited me to their lovely house in Jaywick overlooking the sea. Beautiful house, in fact, not quite like the rest of Jaywick, but there we go. And this came about through a series of sort of happy accidents, really, which I sort of then capitalised on. So I'd just walked along the seafront, or cycled along the seafront, and I came upon a long line of coaches that are all depositing mostly African and or Indian people who'd come on a bus to visit Clacton. They weren't in boats and migrants or anything. They were British citizens from places like Nottingham and West Midlands and all over the place, but a lot of them from the West Midlands and places like that. Seems to be a favourite destination. And all of the drivers were just shading themselves under some trees, and I sort of was chatting to the drivers about what was this phenomenon of bringing all these people to Clacton. They said, oh, they love coming here. And I said, I don't think some of the people here are quite so keen. They went, no, not really. So we were having a little discussion about the sort of people of Clacton. And then this woman came over to them, and she was a sort of a litter czar. So she was saying, you shouldn't really be parking those buses there because you should use the car park. And she's a bit of a local sort of person that does this all the time to them. And I started discussing what were they doing. I said they brought their own food and they brought their own containers. I suspect all the rubbish on the beach is people buying fizzy pop and sort of disposable stuff, really. And he said, oh well, they contribute as well. So I'm sure they do. This sort of continued for a little while, and I wanted a bit of an exit route, so I pointed out there wasn't a bus driver and I was a researcher about politics. And we went, well, we'll go on from there. It's the people buying the Coke at the cafe stalls that the problem.
Yeah, but it's not only that.
No.
I live further down.
I was going to.
We go out and talk to people and explain about where they need to put their rubbish.
I'm not a bus driver, by the way.
No,
I'm doing some independent research on this bloody election. Have you got views on that? You got any views on that?
Oh yes, please. I'd like to know some views on that as well. Yeah, okay. Strong views, please.
Right. No, I do have.
No, don't influence the subject.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Stop that.
Forgive me, sir.
Right. My view is.
Okay.
I have a responsibility to vote because I think it's irresponsible to not vote.
Yes,
women worked really hard to
get that vote.
Particularly women
to get where you are now, yeah.
So there is a responsibility to vote. However, my postal vote is sitting in my house at the minute because I actually don't know what to do with it.
There's 34, aren't there?
It's a joke.
It's a joke.
It's an absolute joke.
And it's an expensive joke because it's costing you 250,000 quid.
It's a very, very expensive joke. I don't know what the answer is. I really
but
don't.
not voting, you know what? But you know that not voting is not the answer. That's important.
I do, absolutely. Not voting is not the answer. Spoiling a ballot paper might be the answer because at least then you have sent it in, but you haven't actually voted for somebody because there's of those 30.
What do you think about Farage and the bin then? Because there's two prominent ones.
Of those
34.
Of those 34, only 5 of them have got a local address.
Yep.
And one of them is Farage, and that's a bit debatable.
That's his girlfriend, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's debatable.
He's got a girlfriend.
Well, he's had several, but this one's French.
French? French. Churchill's French. Remember that. We're getting there.
He said that if he got in,
what's he doing?
He said that if he got in, he would buy a house.
Okay, for his French woman.
And he claimed to have bought the house, and then he suddenly remembered, because the press got onto it, he suddenly remembered that actually he hadn't bought it, it belonged to his girlfriend.
Out of his 5 million.
So,
for security.
5 million.
For security.
Wow.
There's only $1 million the house.
Wow.
Go on.
Okay.
Go on.
A few months back, I sat next to Richard Tice on a plane back from Malaga. We had a lot of good discussion, but I still don't know what the answer is.
Okay.
Because as a local resident, it's a joke. I would like to know, but there won't be anybody that'll answer the question, how 34 people put their names forward, most of which will lose their deposit.
Yeah.
Because they won't get 500 or whatever the number is. You have to get a certain number of votes.
I know, I have stood a candidate, not here, but I have done it. So £500, bang.
I didn't know whether it was still 500.
It's in a brown envelope usually. Cash.
Yeah.
Cash, it's all got to be cash.
Yeah. Funny,
Don't know
ain't
why.
it? So
But I didn't do it here. But
I need to, if you get less than a certain number of votes, you lose your deposit.
Yeah.
So of those people, probably 30 of them are going to
will lose their deposit.
Lose their deposit. So why have they stood?
For a whole host of different reasons,
one of them
actually.
lives in Australia.
Yeah,
one of them lives in
you've got the
Belgium.
5 local candidates who obviously
One of whom
think.
I know.
Yeah.
And I certainly wouldn't be voting for them.
Then there's Binface, who's got all the publicity but no votes.
Yeah.
It seems. I mean, he's a phenomenon, and he'll have got a lot of funding for that because he's popular. And then, there's a whole raft, isn't there, of other people. I don't know.
So I'm now very old.
Not as old as me.
I'm now a pensioner,
So am I.
and I've never not voted.
No, that's important.
Local
driver's
and general.
It's very bad to be a coach driver, seriously.
There is a Conservative guy down here, but he's not a Conservative. In fact, there's several of them, actually.
That's one of the really...
There is a whole spectrum, isn't there? There's the bloke who's harder than Nigel. He's about 14,
That's
only
one way
that
of looking
guy.
at it.
Whatever it is, that Kai, I think his name is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then there's the bloke who's a fox.
Yeah.
Not Lawrence Fox, the other one that wants to fight for animals. So he's got a specific thing. I suppose someone will vote for him.
But we're not talking about a councillor here. We're talking about an MP.
Yeah.
And whatever you may or may not think of Farage, since this has happened, he's been around.
Has he?
I'm actually teasing myself.
Oh,
Prior to that, he had been around because I live on the seafront.
Yeah.
And I said to Richard Tice when I sat next to him, I said, next time
I've done
Farage
a
walks
partnership
past
with
my
somebody in
house
Skegness.
with his entourage, tell him to knock on the door and come and have a cup of tea.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to face you on the doorstep.
I'd invite him
don't know
in.
how you know
I'd give
that,
him
seriously.
tea. I'd ask a few questions.
Because when I looked, I see you didn't have any realness.
Yeah, so it sounds like you still would like to vote for reform. You have a bit of hope about them. Despite the fact that the last thing Farage promised you was Brexit, and it noticeably has been an absolute disaster.
Yeah. And nobody's been held accountable.
No, and Boris, it wasn't just him, it was
No,
Boris as
yeah.
well.
They promised the earth. They got the people that aren't particularly politically minded. Which actually, to be fair, I'm not. But I've just recently returned from a holiday in one of the Greek islands, and what was striking is until the football started. It was a few weeks
Oh, the
ago.
football's a bit of a wild card.
Until the football started, every single conversation around that pool was about politics.
Really?
Of normal.
So you go to Greece and you end up talking
yeah.
about
well,
politics.
Obviously, it was English people, but go back a couple of years even, you would never have heard anybody venturing a political opinion in that sort of area.
Just the football happened then, hasn't it?
Well, it was because they then started talking about the football. But that is how this country has changed, I think, in the fact that the normal people that might have had an opinion but would have kept it to themselves now want to be heard.
I do this quite a lot, and
Yeah.
everyone has an opinion. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
But
I live in Medway in
Right.
Kent, so I live in Chatham, and it's almost twinned with Clacton in terms of the balance of people.
Yeah.
And I hear them all shouting at my MP because her name's Khan, and they go, "So are you a relative of Sadiq Khan then?" And it's like John Smith, isn't it, being called Khan?
Yeah, it is.
Ridiculous,
Yeah.
but
there's even more of them than there is Smiths, aren't there?
I think there is, yeah. So anyway, nice to meet you.
So you're just doing a bit of research, are you?
Yeah, well, I might see the sun at some point as well. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. I don't know. I was going to go up to Jaywick and maybe as far as Brighton, see, because I've got a bike. and then maybe up the other end to get the spectrum of people's views. But it's quite difficult to get people to talk because they don't want to talk to you. Like, some of them think it's a joke. Some of them don't want to collude with that joke. Other people saying, I couldn't give a shit.
I don't want to collude with that joke. However, I think I've got a responsibility to vote.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
And by now, normally, because we do a postal vote, because up until this year we were in the EU for a large amount of time. Normally, the day it arrives, I fill it in and do it, but it's still...
You've got to process 34 candidates.
It's still, well, most of them can just be
discarded.
Yeah. But it's who... Because the choice is, you either vote for Farage, or if you're not going to do that, who is the other person that you vote for?
Well,
he knows he'll.
There's a few serious candidates in the mix, but you'll have to look it up.
Yeah. He knows he'll win. There's too many.
Oh yeah, he'll win.
It'll be divided.
And then the inquiry will carry on, and as if nothing had happened.
Yeah.
So that's all just
it's
guaranteed.
Just such a waste of money, and it's made. Clacton was always a bit of a laughing stock. Like when I sat next to Richard Tice, he told me who I didn't know who he was, to be fair, but he told me who he was, and I said, well, in that case, I'll tell you where I live. And he said, oh, you must live in.
But he spoke to you then, did he?
Oh yeah.
Well, I suppose he couldn't exactly get out, could he?
Well, yeah, he could, because he was in the NC.
Eventually, this kind woman invited me back for tea, and we sat there and had a nice cup of tea with her and her husband. And she said that her husband would definitely have some views, and it sounded as if they'd both voted for Farage in previous times. She wasn't at all struck by Brexit, it turned out, after we got into the detail of it. He wasn't terribly struck by Brexit either, but he was occupied by the idea of not being able to send people back. We had a lengthy conversation about the difficulties of, the law stepping in and, preventing people from, being sent away. And it was such a nice invite. I didn't spend a lot of time, putting in facts, but I did just explain that in 30 or so years, the ECHR has managed to hold back, I think, about 13 people from leaving. So if we left the ECHR, it wouldn't stop millions of boat people. Their response to that, it would stop all the dither and delay by the justice system. But, so we had a bit of a stalemate on that, really. But they seem to be fairly well sort of versed in quite a lot of the things that we discussed. They weren't at all interested in looking at the ballot papers. And they completely dismissed out of hand the Count Binface as being just an abomination, really. So that was the sort of upshot. They told me a lot about sort of the way Clacton is and how it's ignored by the MP and, well, sort of what have you. They told me a lot about sort of their views on the political system, how despondent they were about it. And then we parted company, and they gave me some tips on where to go and who to meet and what have you further up the road into Jaywick. So it was an incredibly nice afternoon I spent with them. We were completely on opposing sides, but actually we had a very cordial conversation, which just rather proves that one can do this if you don't lose your rag or start lecturing people with facts, because facts clearly don't seep into the minds of people who vote for Farage, although these people were probably the exception that proved the rule. Anyway, I'm very grateful for my lovely cup of Earl Grey and the use of the toilet as well, which was very valuable at my age. So there we have it.